Right, I think we should be good. I was just messing around because I didn't even know that you could have a noise gate. I didn't even know what that was until a day ago.
All right. That's good. That's very good.
I don't know whether I should be telling you that because that makes me sound very unprofessional. Hello and welcome back to the Redcast. I'm your host, Troy, also known as Red Archer Live, and it's time for another episode of the show where I explore the world of entertainment through video games, acting, content creation, and much, much more. As always, this episode was available 48 hours early for my patrons before the public release on both YouTube and Spotify. If you'd like to become a patron and get 2 days early access to these episodes, just head on over to www.patreon.com/Red Archer Live and pledge as little as $1 and you'll get that early access. But it's time for this episode's featured review. This time it's slightly different, however, as this episode has been recorded less than 24 hours after episode 4's public debut, and so there aren't many comments I can read off of that video. So instead, we're picking an appropriate comment from the very first episode from Slatia, I hope you're getting your name right, I have no idea, who said, I want to see either Jimmy, Sydney, Clover, or Hoxton on the cast. They're the funniest in the game. Well, it's time to honour that request in episode 5, as it seems this show has developed a bit of an unintentional pattern, where every other episode brings in a Payday 2 actor, because today we've got another iconic character from the game. He played Hoxton in the first Payday game back in 2011, and came back by popular demand in Payday 2. And here to talk about all of that and more, it's Pete Gold. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm happy. I'm glad I got through that in front of you.
Well done, very good. I couldn't have done it better.
Oh, I'm glad. I didn't screw it up. That's always the gag. It's a sign of how well it's going to go if I get the intro done perfectly.
Good, well this is going to be a cracking episode then.
It will be. I bottled it in front of Ian, so that was really funny.
It's hard, isn't it? And when as soon as the red light goes on, your brain just turns to mush.
Yeah. But he literally just said he just went, keep going, you're all right, go from the top. I was like, it's okay, I'm all right, I'm okay.
That presumably, I mean, if you could go back and edit it if it all went wrong, couldn't you? Or just record it at the end. That's what I do. I just record it at the end and stick it on the front.
I could do, yeah, but yeah, it's a good idea. I might do that next time. How are you doing anyway, man?
I'm all right. I'm good, thank you. Yeah, surviving in this strange new world.
It is a very strange world. It is very strange because, for those of you who don't know, we have sat down and spoken to Pete once before on this channel back in February. We had a little interview right before everything kind of went wrong in the world because it all very quickly went downhill right after that.
It was a different world, wasn't it? Was that this year?
That was. I think it was February the 12th. I think was the date on it.
Yeah.
So literally not even. Wait, no, hang on. I'm losing track of the month. So about 8 months ago.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because 2020 feels like it started on March the 23rd. Anything that sort of happened before that and was vaguely normal belonged to another time.
It's so funny because I would sit in like high school or college and be like, oh, people who do university degrees, they have so long summer breaks. I really want one of those. And it literally feels like the majority of this year has been a summer break because I've not been able to leave the house.
No, it's weird, isn't it?
It is. It's just so bizarre. It is so bizarre. I don't know. How have you been keeping though since the last time we spoke?
Yeah, good. Lockdown was weird. And in some ways, on a day-to-day basis, I'm a voiceover with a home studio, and 90% of my work, at least, has always been from my home studio. And then lockdown came along, and you couldn't notice the difference. There's a period of uncertainty where I wasn't quite sure if I was going to carry on being able to pay the bills. Just because you never really do know that in this industry. It's great being self-employed, but you've just got no idea where your next paycheck is coming from. And some days the phone doesn't ring at all. And with any luck, those days are few and far between. But fortunately, people still want me to say words into a microphone, and I've still got work coming in, and that's great. And then, my boy was homeschooling, and my wife wasn't able to work during lockdown, so she was, from our household's point of view, that worked out very well. She was able to be at home the whole time and look after my boy and supervise the homeschooling. And he's very bright and he's very sensible, and he sort of got on with it as best he could. But he's only 12, and there's to sort of be in charge of your own learning experience at that age is quite difficult. And I suspect this generation of kids, although you could argue in some ways they've lost out on some aspects of their education, they have learnt self-reliance and time management and all sorts of skills that I'm still struggling with now, age 47. So
yeah,
so for us as a household, it's been all right, really. And there's a lot of people have had a I know someone who had to sleep in a camper van for several weeks because they were working in the NHS and they didn't want to take COVID home to their family and their children. So, some people have had it proper tough, and they're doing 50, 60-hour shifts and watching people die, and I'm not going to moan for a second about what my experience of lockdown has been. I've been fine, thank you. I've got friends who they're two parents trying to work full time off the same dining table with two kids, both at primary school, not being properly kind of fed work, and they were trying to keep the kids busy. Mum, dad, maths, help, and they're trying to, that's really hard. And then in the meantime, the guy in the flat next door had been furloughed and was just sat on his ass watching Netflix for 6 months and being paid 80% of his normal salary. So everyone's experience of lockdown has been very, very different, and I think I've had a good one, really. I'm not complaining at all, thank you.
Yeah, compared to some people, it's much better. I mean, it's just so strange because especially with how much longer it's going to last. I mean, with us both being Brits, I mean, this is as political as this will ever get, even though it's not really that political. I don't know about you, but I got very, very tired after a year or two of every news headline being about Brexit. It was just Brexit this, Brexit that, and I was like, yeah, okay, like, this is getting a bit repetitive now, and now it's COVID this, COVID that, and it's like, oh my god, it's just...
I long for the days of Brexit.
Yeah, literally, like, I never would have thought that I'd miss the days where Brexit was the main thing on the news, but that is what's happening right now.
Well, it's coming back, it's sneaking back into the headlines a little bit now,
Yeah.
I think partly because... the COVID numbers have dipped and everyone's a bit bored of hearing about COVID all the time. Oh, what else can we look at? Oh, hang on, the Brexit negotiations are about to fall apart. Let's talk about them again.
Yeah, and then now it's peaking up again with the cases. Oh, boy. Oh, I don't know. I really don't.
I saw a cartoon in the paper a few months ago, and it was a series of tidal waves, basically, and Britain about to be swamped by it. And the first one was called COVID, and then behind it was a much blacker, more horrible-looking one called Brexit, and then behind that was an even mightier one, dark black, and it was entitled Climate Change. So we're all doomed. God. We're all doomed.
We are. At the end of the day, we are all at some point going to die. So that's a great way to start this off. So on a lighter,
it's going well.
This got depressing very quickly.
Sorry.
It's alright. No, so I wanted to kind of bridge the gap between the last interview and this one and have a bit of common ground here. So for some people, you may have heard this conversation before, but I want to try and go a bit more in depth. I want to just talk a bit first about your origins as Hoxton, because you're one of only 3 actors in Payday that had the role in the first game and then saw it continue in the second one. So how did that all start off for you in the first game then?
I was very lucky. Well, these days I have to audition for a lot of stuff, and back then, so this is 9 years ago we're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's been going 9 years. And so some auditions I sort of get for myself. There are various websites you can go looking through, and people post castings and auditions, and there's an element of throwing mud at the wall. I mean, for every 100 auditions you put out, you might only land 2 or 3 jobs, but that's the way it goes these days.
Yeah.
And even 9 years ago, that was beginning to creep in, and I got one of the auditions that came my way was from my agent, and it was for a video game, and they wanted... I can't quite remember what the brief said, but I think they said a regional accent.
Yeah.
And I have learned through bitter experience that you're much better off sticking with accents you can properly do. And I was brought up in Sheffield, and I think when I was a kid I had a bit of a Yorkshire accent, and so that comes fairly easily. And certainly if you've got to sustain it for any length of time, it's got to be second nature. You can't be thinking about have you done the right kind of R or the right kind of T. It's got to trip off the tongue. So I plumped for Sheffield, and I did a lot of screaming and shouting. I think that might have won me the gig. I really committed to the violence. And because I remember they stipulated that on the brief as well. They say, you will have to emulate for 4 hours in your opening session whatever you are about to do in your audition. So I just let rip with both lungs, and they liked it. And then when I got the job, and I turned up for the first recording session. It was 4 hours long, and I absolutely wrecked myself doing it. And I think I didn't quite. I sort of started to tone it down a bit, and they went, "That's great, thanks very much." And they rang me back the following week and said, "Yeah, it hasn't really matched your audition. You need to do more screaming and shouting. Can you come back and redo some of it, please?"
Oh my god! How much did they make you redo?
But I think it was about 2 hours of it.
Oh God!
And at that point, I sort of said, no, that's fine. Of course, I'll come back and do it. And I'm sorry I didn't give you what you wanted in the first place. But can we please agree that none of the sessions are longer than 2 hours? If there's going to be that level of, it's the sort of bit like the firefighting level. Do you know what I mean? Like you're under attack from everyone. There's bombs going off. You're screaming at the very top of your lungs. You can't do 4 hours of that.
I presume it was the last 2 hours they wanted you to re-record.
It was, yeah. It was the really shouty stuff they wanted to do again, and please don't pull any punches. So I did. But so I think, I don't know if they booked me because of the Sheffield, or if they booked me because of the shouting, or what. Because I'm not quite sure what a Sheffield accent sounds like to a predominantly American market. I mean, Payday's popular all over the place, but I think at the time it was mainly sold in the States. It's a Swedish company, and but I think that the distributors were American. And maybe it was, Daphne off Friends was popular, Frasier was popular at the time. You know what I mean? That's sort of that's more of a Lancastrian accent she's got, I think, isn't it?
I don't know.
I'm not quite sure. And she's got a northern accent, and maybe that just sounded exotic and weird to Americans, and they went, this guy, we like this guy.
Yeah, so, it might have just been that, who knows? This was like, let's have our token Brit. Maybe that was it. Let's not have 4 Americans, let's throw a British guy in there, because why not?
Or do you know what? Maybe it's Sean Bean. I sort of feel like some of my successes have been riding on the coattails of Sean Bean a little bit. Because he's probably like the most familiar, certainly since Game of Thrones. He'll be what most Americans will use as a touch point for a Yorkshire or a Northern English accent.
Yeah, that's true, actually. As long as your characters don't keep dying as a result, then.
No, that's right. Every character he does die.
Don't kill Hoxton off. No.
Well, he's still around so far.
It got to the point, I remember when the second Hitman game came out most recently, I think it was in 2018, the first, time-limited thing they added was a mission where you could kill Sean Bean. And the whole premise of his character was there's been 8 assassination attempts on his life, and every time we've thought we've killed him, but he's not. And it's like they literally just memed it the hell out of it because they realised that they were bringing on somebody who always dies, which I thought was fantastic because the marketing for it.
It's quite a strange hook to hang your career on, isn't it?
It is.
The guy who always dies, but he's got pretty good at it.
He has. Because the companies just use it now. There was another one he was in on. There was a Sky program about a year ago or 2 years ago. And they were like, Sean Bean's in it, and literally in the advert it was, "Will Sean Bean die in this show?" And I was like, you know what, you know your audience. It's fair, I'll give you credit.
That's very good. But he's a Sheffield lad as well, Sean Bean, and I'm struggling to think of anyone else with a Sheffield accent who would have been sort of well known in the States. So I don't know. I think maybe thank you. I owe a debt of thanks to Sean Bean for being from the same part of the world as him, and maybe that's what got me cast in Payday. I don't know.
Maybe. That would be interesting to find out.
It would, wouldn't it?
But as we know, you were not just in the first Payday game, you were in the second one, but you weren't asked back to begin with.
No, and I possibly they just thought, the British thing is weird, let's lose the British thing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they did a focus group on it or what, or if they just, I think what happened is that in between Payday 1 and Payday 2, and probably everyone listening will know this, and be shouting at their speakers, yes, this is absolutely what happened, you numbskull, is that the company got bought out by, was it Starbreeze originally, got bought out by an American company, and possibly the American overlords kind of went, right, we're going to shuffle things up a bit.
Yeah, the purchase was very strange. It was hard to tell whether Overkill bought Starbreeze or the other way around, because the terms are pretty much interchangeable at this point. It's one of the strangest company transactions I've ever heard. It's bizarre.
Yeah, there was another company. I can't remember if. Yeah, there was another company involved that somewhere that had the word sledge in it as well, I think. Can't remember. There was and it's weird for me because quite often I'm talking to different people every time I record for Payday. There's different people in the room. And I'm never quite sure what the pecking order is, or it's kind of a weird one really. But I think in between Payday 1 and 2, it was clear that Payday was successful and it was worth something, and it got bought out, and different editorial decisions were made about the voice casting, and I've never taken it personally. I don't think anyone went, that British guy's rubbish, let's sack him. I've always perhaps I'm just drifting through life oblivious to what everyone thinks about me. But I assumed what happened was they dropped the British because they didn't like the British, not they dropped it because they didn't like me. And then there was an upsurge and a petition.
Yeah, there was like a revolt.
Bring the British guy back. Great.
Because the most common thing, I literally said this to you in February, was that I believed what was going on the internet, which was that you didn't come back because of scheduling conflicts, but that seems to be just a statement that's thrown around now, and a lot of people presume to be the norm.
Yeah, no, it's bollocks. Total bollocks.
Best way to sum it up, really.
No, I just wasn't. I never got a phone call, basically. And I don't know if there's a rumor somewhere that I wasn't, I was charging too much money or something. I don't know. I don't think I'm charging any more or any less than anyone else. I'm sure there are people getting paid a lot more than what I am for doing video game voiceovers, and I'm sure there's people getting paid less as well. So it was absolutely nothing to do with fees. I think I'm still being paid the same now as I was in 2011, and I'm very happy about it. I love doing the work. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
But so no, nothing to do with fees, nothing to do with scheduling. It was literally I just didn't get a phone call, and that's fine. That could be for all sorts of reasons. There's absolutely nobody owes me a living. This is the one thing I've learned about voiceover is that you hope the phone will ring again. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't, and there's no point losing any sleep about it either way.
But the plus side is that they listened to the petition. They could have quite easily just gone, yeah, we're not bringing him back. But it's clear that there was like no issue of love for you there, because they were like, no, we'll bring him back. That's fine. We'll do it. Okay.
Well, that's very nice. Astonishing, really. And I mean, I can't forget how many people signed the petition, but it was like several thousand. Bless them. Thanks very much. But even then, you're right, the developers could have said, well, thank you, several thousand people, but why should we listen to you?
Yeah,
come back when there's 100,000 of you, or I don't know. So they did it, and I guess I don't know, maybe they kind of looked at the numbers and went, well, okay, if you all promise to actually pay for some downloadable content, then it is worth our while developing it. I doubt it was. I very much doubt it.
I can't remember. I think the update was added for free. I'm pretty sure it was added. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the update was added for free, Hoxton Breakout one. Yeah, it was. It wasn't a paid one.
That's right. So I don't know. I mean, there's nothing, no money in it for them, really.
Well, they did really well in the game, because I remember reading that they turned a profit on the game before it had even come out. So the pre-orders alone made the game profitable. Right. So there was clearly an interest for the game. So maybe, I think that's why they went with the model of quite a lot of free updates and then quite a few paid ones, because they could afford to make some of the free ones because the game was so popular.
That's good. And also, it's like, you speculate to accumulate, don't you? And every time you publish something new, it gives you an opportunity to shout about things on social media, and that's more, kind of traffic and footprints, and, it's all good, isn't it? So it's very nice that they do that, and then very nice that they are, there's this kind of dialogue between the developers and the fans. I don't know how that works in the rest of the gaming industry, but that strikes me as quite exceptional, really. It's great.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. I think it's really good. But yeah, so there you go. The only Payday voice actor that was brought back by popular demand. You can put that on your resume.
I'm going to put that on my website. Back by popular demand.
Yeah, put it on your website. People love me in Payday so much, they want to be back in Payday 2, and they made the developers put me in.
Well, it's fantastic. Honestly, it's bonkers. I don't really understand it. I don't think there's I love what I do, but I don't claim to be the best person in the world at doing it. And I'm, I think it's lovely that everyone enjoys what I've done as Hoxton, but I'm sure there's hundreds of people that could have done a much better job of it than me. Thanks very much. So I'm delighted that I got the gig and that everyone enjoyed it and wanted me back. Thank you, and I'm very grateful to carry on doing it for as long as they'll have me.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It is really good. I mean, who knows whether they'll take you down the live action route, because that'd be interesting, I think, if they asked you. Because we touched on that a little bit, because it was... Well, I mean, if there's someone listening who doesn't know, it isn't actually Pete that does the face of Hoxton in the live-action trailers. He dubs over his voice over Josh Len, who actually does the voice of Bodhi. It's all very, very strange the way it all works.
I didn't realise Josh Len also voiced one of the characters.
No, yeah, he voices Bodhi in the game. So he voices Bodhi and then does your face. It's very strange how it all worked out.
That is weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. And so that was my sort of first proper full-on dialogue replacement session was the Breakout trailer, and can't remember. It took a couple of hours. The trailer's like sort of 12 minutes long or something, isn't it? And it took 2 or 3 hours to replace all the dialogue, which was interesting. And looking back at it, I look back at it and I'm quite critical of what I did. And I kind of think, everyone can see that's not right. But I don't know. But it's the closest I'll ever be to being like an action movie star, isn't it? So
I think it'd be really interesting if they bring Bodhi back, if they bring Josh Lem back as Bodhi. It'd be interesting I know it'd be a bit strange, but they've done this in the past with actors in big films and things. They could quite easily be like, well, let's have Josh actually play Bodhi now, and then have you play Hoxton. I mean, that'd be cool to see.
God, I'd love that.
Face.
I'd love that. Except I'm 47 and cronky. I'm nothing like as fit and limber as Josh Lennon. It would be, I'd be hobbling around going, "Wait for me!"
I doubt they'd be asking you to do 100-meter sprints in the recording. I think you'd be all right.
I can barely do a forward roll, to be honest. I don't think I could hold a bank up.
Mate, I'm 21, and neither can I. So don't worry about it.
I'd love to do that though. God, everyone wanted to be James Bond or whatever when they were young, didn't they? That'd be terrific to be involved in the live action side of stuff. But why would you? When A, you can do dialogue replacement, and B, half the characters are wearing masks 95% of the time. There's absolutely no point in getting the real actor to play the guy.
It's true. I mean, I kind of hope they'll do more like the web series that came out when the game first released, because that was what was interesting, because I remember Damien told me that they recorded those before even doing the voice lines, and there's a good portion of that where it's actually like their faces with no masks talking to each other. So I'd like to see them do more things like that. I think that'd be quite interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
It was kind of like they left it. I don't know what they were trying to go for in the web series 100%, but it was kind of like they left it on a ground where they could have done more stuff like that. So they could easily take the live action thing and really run with it in 3. And I think if they lost that element going into the next game, it really would be a shame, because it's something that makes Payday so unique, at least to me. I think the way they blend the game with the live action stuff, I don't think there's anything else out there that does it like that.
No, interesting. I have to confess, I never saw the web series. I saw sort of various clips and YouTube trailers and stuff, but I never saw the series itself. But I wasn't involved in it, obviously. I was out by that point.
Yeah, you hadn't been called back in, so that's fair. I wasn't sure whether you'd seen it because of that. Yeah, that makes sense. But they've done stuff like that before.
Go and have a look.
I don't know. I think it should be very interesting, but we'll see how they go with Payday 3 and go from there. We'll touch on that a bit later. But before we do that, I wanna shift topic a little bit and say congratulations, Ronaldo, because you're actually a One Voice Awards winner.
I am. Thanks very much.
Yeah. So which award did you win? Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
I won. Well, the category there's a slight typo, because it was best male performance in a radio drama, and strictly speaking, it wasn't. It was an audio drama in that it was done for Audible and is an Audible production, and it never went out on the radio. So also these things that the audio dramas are. I've done a few of these now. God, they're so much fun to be in, and it's a full cast audio adaptation of. This was the Three Musketeers, and I've done a few other ones as well. And what was great about this for me is I actually had a sort of a medium-sized part, and I was in several scenes, and I got to act opposite other people. Quite often, I'm just crowd. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like. It says at the top of the script, there are some jolly pirates singing raucously in a tavern, and so there's 5 or 6 sort of naughty actors who've had a lovely sandwich for lunch, and and have hung around the green room chatting all morning, and they're in the background going, "Oh, me hearty, rhubarb, rhubarb, rhubarb," and it's
interesting
great
lyrics.
Fun. It's great fun. It was really nice in the Three Musketeers to get a role. I played a guy called John Felton, who was a prison master, and he held Milady de Winter captive, and he was very puritanical and very hard of heart and completely unassailable, and she manages to seduce him over the course of about 3 days. Doesn't take long. She seduces him and persuades him to kill her captor and take off. He plows all of his life savings into a ship, whisks her away to safety, kills her other enemy, and then he says, "All right, stay here, love, I'm just going to kill your enemy." And he comes back to the beach in time to see the back of the ship sailing for France. And she's gone, "Bye, thanks very much." And Felton gets captured and tortured and killed. So he's a mug.
In other words, a great family story.
Brilliant. But it was terrific fun, and it was a proper, a proper meaty character with, with some chops to it, and a story, and a development, and a tragic end, and brilliant, absolutely brilliant fun. And the team at Audible are absolutely amazing. I only ever worked with one team there, and there must be lots of other teams who have their own cast of actors, and I'm not on their list. But it's always a guy called David Beck there who directs the projects, and they are nearly always written by a guy called Marty, who is just fantastic. He's a brilliant writer, and the task of updating these and sort of adapting these enormous epic projects, it must be incredibly daunting, and he's superb. And so it's the same team, and the sound guys are amazing, because you've got a bunch of actors in a nice dry sound studio, and you've got to make them sound like they're sailing the high seas, or running down a hill, or crashing through a jungle. And the soundscapes that these guys come up with are absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely
it really
amazing.
does sound it. It sounds fantastic. I'm admittedly not very big with audio dramas. I'm looking to get into them down the Doctor Who route, because there's a lot of Doctor Who audio dramas they do, and they recently announced that Christopher Eccleston's going to be coming back to Doctor Who and doing audio dramas, and he's literally done nothing for the programme since he left 15 years ago, which already makes me feel old. But that's where I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going to get into audio stuff. And then I think probably once I start, that'll be it. I'll be listening to all sorts of stuff, so I might give Three Musketeers a go then.
Yeah, it's a good one, actually. I mean, it's really... They're absolutely epic, but they're brilliantly done, and it makes you realise why these books were popular in the first place. And what's the other ones I've done? I've done Treasure Island. I did War of the Worlds. That was fantastic. There was that one was directed by
production.
It was incredible. It was directed by Jeff Wayne, who wrote the musical, the sort of concept rock musical in the 70s, I think it was, wasn't it? And he's still fit as a flea, and we went to Wayne mansions in Hertfordshire and recorded in his home studio in his music room, and that was just fantastic. And I got to hang out with all sorts of brilliant people, and had a lovely time recording that. And again, I was mainly just playing bit parts, but it's such good fun doing it, and for me, it's proper acting instead of... I sort of think of that as voice acting instead of voiceover.
Yeah.
And it's not like one is better than the other, or they're just different. They require different skills. And most of what I do most of the time is adverts or corporate material or e-learning projects or TV promos. And they're great, and they're interesting, and they're different, and they're fun, and it requires a certain skill set. There's a lot of technical stuff about, actually accentuating certain words or fitting things into a certain time frame. And then with voice acting, and again, this is, Payday, I think I would consider voice acting, is trying to bring a character to life and make them authentic and real. And, I mean, with Payday, that's... The added difficulty there is that you've got, a short sentence here and a short sentence there, and they're all sort of slightly out of context, and they're in a spreadsheet, and sometimes you have to imagine what the context was. Why am I saying this? Who said what to me beforehand? Have I just been shot? How noisy is it? Where are we? Do you know what I mean? So there is still a technical element to that, but it is that I would classify that as voice acting. And then with the audio dramas, that is... They're generally ensemble pieces, so you've got the whole script in front of you. You can see everyone else's lines. It's not a spreadsheet, and you're in the room with 12 other people, and you the pressure is on. You cannot fuck this up. If they've just done this lovely scene, and you say scrotum in the middle of it accidentally or something, then they've got to do the whole bloody thing again, and you're the idiot. So it's great. It's great fun. It's proper acting, and I never made it to drama school, and I always wanted to, and I sort of feel like this is it's a lifetime's ambition realised in a way that some of the other voiceover work is what I do every day, and I'm very grateful for it, but it hasn't got that sort of status of being the thing I never managed to do. Do you see what I mean? So
yeah.
So audio drama for me personally is very special, and to have got an award for it is brilliant, even though, if I'm honest with myself, pretty much everyone else who was involved with the audio drama, had they submitted their entry for these particular awards, would almost certainly have trounced me. But it doesn't matter. It's nice that they thought that my entry was good enough and not embarrassing, and I got an award. So thanks very much, everyone.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and it is well deserved. You got it for something. I think it's fantastic. Because didn't you say that was your first award for voice work? I think you said that on Twitter somewhere.
It was, and I mean, I haven't gone in for awards previously, and I'm not quite sure what persuaded me to go. Maybe I was just especially proud of this project that I was involved in, of Three Musketeers, and I just thought, sod it, I'm going to do it.
You might as well, yeah. Nothing ventured and all that.
I've been a voiceover for 20 years, and I just thought, let's see if I can win something. So I was delighted, and I don't think I would have been disappointed or upset if I hadn't won, because as I say, there's plenty of people in that awards conference who were much more experienced and talented than me, and lots of people won lots of awards, and I don't pretend that I'm anything special at all, but it was very nice to get some recognition, especially having been in the game for 20 odd years. It's nice to have something gathering dust on the mantelpiece. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think it's lovely. And I mean, what you were saying about voice acting, definitely different to voiceover. I mean, you were telling me last time about the fact that you did, I don't know if there was a tannoy or adverts for BP, like the yes. shop in the UK, and then you had one literally down the road for you, so you'd go down there, you said, in your slippers, and you'd be buying food, and then just hear your voice in the background. But
yeah,
no, that's completely different to voice acting, because, I mean, I would personally, with no experience, this could be completely unfounded, I would think personally voice acting in some ways is a lot harder than live action acting, because you've got to convey all the emotions and everything to the character without people being able to see you. You've got to do it through the voice. So whereas, on a live action thing, somebody could be pulling a face and then saying something, and you'd be like, oh wow, that's so emotional. Like, they can't see your face while you're being seduced by someone in the Musketeers or something, or when you're being abandoned on a boat. You've got to put that into the voice, and I think that makes it so much harder, and as a result, when you do it well, it makes it so much better.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point, I suppose. I mean, I don't think anyone would really say that voice actors are voice acting is harder than live action, in vision acting, but they're different. You're right, they're different, and you have to. There's a certain amount of finesse involved in voice acting when you don't have all of the tools at your disposal in the same way as you do in vision. Having said that, one of the great things about voice acting is that you don't have to learn the script.
Yeah, true.
You can sit and read it off your iPad. There is it's a much smaller commitment of time and energy preparing for the role, I think. If I'd had to go off and actually be grow a beard for 6 months, or and practice walking like a dishevelled West Country smuggler, or there's a huge amount more preparation for actually portraying that role in vision than there would be for just clearing your throat and refreshing your iPad screen, and off we go. So yeah, they're two very different skills, and I've really enjoyed. I don't pretend to be a real actor at all. I've had very limited experience of acting in front of a camera. I've done some amateur acting on stage. I am very comfortable behind a microphone, limiting my talents to what goes into people's ears. But it is I really enjoy the stuff I do with Audible. And I'm delighted to be doing something else with them in the next few weeks, which I'm not really supposed to talk about.
Oh,
the project I'm involved with is a big one, and my part in it is, as usual, quite small, but a great deal of fun. And actually, what's nice with this one is that I was asked to help organise some of the music. There's a little bit of singing goes on. Some scenes that there's sort of actors gather together singing one thing or another, and I needed to do a little bit of research and arranging for that. So that's really different. It's one of the things I like about this job, is that it's different every day, and that was really unusual. The musical element to that, so it'll be a fun one to be involved with. And when it'll be released, I don't know. They managed to turn these things around incredibly quickly, given the sort of scale and size of them. but I am guessing that one will be out next year.
Okay. Well, speaking of musical elements, something I want to ask you about, Pete, that you mentioned in February that I really wanted to follow up on but didn't get a chance. You said that when you first got into the industry, that you started off by doing a lot of comedy songs, and it was kind of a one and done drop thing. I mean, I never got to ask you, so now I'm going to. What was that about?
Well, it's a weird one, and it was a completely separate thing to voiceover. And I think when I was at university and I got involved in sketch shows with a friend of mine, Nick, and my little turn would be to do, and now here's Pete with a funny little song. So I'd come on with my guitar and do a funny little song, and then on with the next sketch. And then when I moved to London, I think at some point I harboured vague ambitions of being a singer-songwriter as well, and wrote sort of serious songs.
I'd love to hear some of those.
No, I don't think you would. They're quite studenty and boring and earnest and shit, really, I think. I don't know. And I think I'm at my best when I don't take myself too seriously. So I got into the stand-up circuit with just doing comedy songs, and I wasn't really doing any stand-up at all. There was hardly any kind of spoken patter. It was just song, and off to the bar.
Yeah,
and that was great, and that seemed to go pretty well, really. Because the weird thing about stand-up is that you are putting yourself on trial. Most of what you say as a stand-up, it stems from your personality and your worldview. And albeit an exaggerated personality, it's a stage persona, it's not the real you. It's a version of you, and you're putting it in front of people, and they're going, you suck, we hate you, I disagree with you, or whatever. And actually, with the songs, you sidestep all of that. You can stand behind your guitar. People might hate the songs, but they're hardly going to stand up and heckle in the middle of a song. You're kind of safe.
Yeah.
So it wasn't quite as ferocious as most stand-up tryouts, and I seemed to come through them reasonably unscathed. So I did more of them, and the trouble is, I never took it quite seriously enough. And I was doing the sketch shows as well in London by this stage with my friend Nick and my friend Simon Farnaby, who's gone on to great and wonderful things since then. He was in Horrible Histories. He co-wrote Paddington, the movie. You'd recognise him. He's a face you would recognise. He was in Ghosts, which has just come back for another series. He's fantastic. And so we were, me and Nick and Simon were in a 3-man sketch outfit for a couple of years, about 18 months. We did 2 Edinburgh fringes. So I was busy
wish I'd seen that.
Oh God! I don't expect you're quite lucky.
Oh no, because I love
it.
going to that stuff. That's one thing I miss, especially now. I haven't been for a couple of years. The Fringe Festival is it's a fantastic thing in Edinburgh. It's so good.
It's amazing. I wonder what it was like this year. It was presumably they tried to do as much of it online as they possibly could.
I wonder how they did do that. I didn't hear much about it because it used to go every year, but the plan was this year, my mum and I were going to go to New York, but obviously that didn't happen.
Oh, no.
So that was when we were going to go to Edinburgh. We switched it up and we're like, we'll go to New York instead because it was going to be like a big 21st thing. So we weren't really following the Edinburgh thing. So I wish I had now. I need to look into that and see if they actually managed to do much. But yeah, I love going for all like the comedy stuff. That was the main draw for us. Like there was one we saw that was called oh God, I need to remember the name, otherwise it's going to annoy me. It was Ostentatious, that was it. And it was this fantastic thing where this group of actors would do like a kind of a Jane Austen play, but they do it based on a jokey Jane Austen title that an audience member will come up with. So you'd be given a piece of paper as you walked in. You'd have to write some like generic Jane Austen, Emily Bronte, whatever type play name that sounds like a joke. Give it to them. They pick it out at random and then for an hour improvise a play based on it.
Whoa.
Now, I mean, obviously a good portion of that is probably going to have to be structured, otherwise they'd never pull it off. But I got to tell you, I mean, I can't remember. It was. What was the name of ours? It was something stupid like peas and under sandwiches or something. It was really daft. But I've got to tell you, it was fantastic. They really did it really well. And it's stuff like that you just don't see anywhere else. And I love that about that festival.
No, it's amazing, really. And I've seen a bit of improv in my time, and I have so much respect for the people that do that. They are literally flying by the seat of their pants. And it takes an enormous pair of balls to do that, really. That's harder than any stand-up ever, I think. I went to get, there's a friend of mine who's in a show called Showstoppers, and it's just incredible. And they shout out musical genres, and they go, "Oh, Hamilton, okay, yeah, we can do that." And what? You're joking? Yeah, astonishing. And yeah, Edinburgh's brilliant for that. I haven't been for years, and in my day, so I'm talking about, we went as a sketch group 99, 2000, and 2001.
Okay, so a little bit before I went then.
A little bit.
A little bit.
And it was a different place then, I think. It was starting to get, so it was, latterly, we were always bitching that it was very heavily sponsored by this lager or completely bought out by Channel 4 or whatever. And I first went to the Edinburgh Fringe when I was 12. In about 1984, and it was literally just a community fringe festival, and anyone who could face the right way could put on a production, lose a couple £100 and put on a show at the Fringe, and that was great. And then it's become a lot more commercialised. This is a common argument. I don't feel strongly about it, but it is not. I think it's difficult to describe it as a fringe anymore, because all the enormous comics helicopter up there.
They do.
Pack out these enormous places, and the tickets cost a fortune, and then they helicopter back down to London and do their shows there. So I think it's lost track of its roots, but I sort of think that's probably inevitable, given that the whole thing's very expensive to put on and you need some outside investment from somewhere. And but I think that it's all understandable, but I think it probably makes it rather difficult for for a bunch of students who've got no money to cobble a show together and try out their new writing talent. Do you know, it's a really expensive place to try out new material. But that, on the other hand, does mean the quality is really good. If you're going as a punter, it'll be an expensive long weekend or whatever, but you will see some amazing stuff. It's fantastic.
It is. It's great. When was the last time you went?
Well, so I haven't been since I did a one-man show there in 2007. I think 2006 and 2007 I did a one-man show at Peter Buckley Hill's Free Fringe, and in a pub somewhere at about 3:00 in the afternoon, and that was it's a really good sort of learning experience, and I got audiences and I got reviews, and it wasn't a total embarrassment. But I think what I learned really is that I can't do stand-up.
It's a very difficult thing to do, to be fair.
It's a very difficult thing to do, and I think I might be able to perform it, but I'm just rubbish at writing it. What I can do is comedy songs. And so they were the reliable bit of the show, and then the spoken bit of the show, listening back to it, not good. So I sort of gave up on that, and I moved out of London. I moved to Hertfordshire, and it then became, it would be a schlep 2 hours on the tube to get to some pub in the East End of London to do songs that I'd been doing for 10 years and come away with 20 quid, and it just I'm not doing this anymore. And the thing is, to get ahead in stand-up comedy, you've got to apply yourself to it like it's your only lifeline. And you've got to be a lot more talented than I am. But mainly, what I absolutely didn't do was apply myself to it in any kind of real ambitious way. And Jimmy Carr, famously at one point in his career, was doing 300 gigs a year, up and down the country, sleeping on people's floors. And I think that's what you've got to do, as well as being talented. You've got to be very committed. And at this point I was settling down. I had a family on the way, and I had a very nice career doing voiceovers, and why would I want to give any of that up to go and do stand-up? So I knocked it on the head about 12 years ago, really. And I think it was the right decision. But so I spent, 10 or 12 years knocking around the London comedy circuit and doing my little songs in various clubs, and having a lovely time doing it. But and all the songs are available online somewhere if you look hard enough. But they're not particularly accomplished.
Are they under Pete Gold? Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you look on iTunes or Spotify, you will find pretty much everything really on a couple of albums. And for 12 or more years of writing songs, the 20 or so songs that are sitting there on the internet, it's not a lot to show for it, really. I think I could have been a lot more prolific. If you look at someone like Mitch Benn, who kind of knocks out a couple of songs every week. He must have thousands of songs in his repertoire, and I've got about 25.
Oh my god, a penny's just dropped in my head. Oh my god, I remember this now. Right, I do these streams occasionally. People like just submit a bunch of like funny YouTube clips and memes and all sorts of stuff, and then like for an hour or two watch all things people submitted. Someone submitted you singing "Why Do People Think I'm Gay?" And I can't believe I didn't remember that until this point, but I literally just sneakily brought you up on Spotify. I'm going to follow you right now. But literally your top one is "Why Do People Think I'm Gay?" And then there's a bunch of other ones, yeah. Oh my god.
A song of which I probably I should probably take that down, to be honest. I think it was a lot of kind of gender and sexuality stereotyping going on in that song.
I'll admit I don't remember it, so it may be
25 years ago, and probably it's had its day, and I should remove it. I don't think there's anything in there that would really offend anyone. I really hope not. And
no. Well, I mean, I watched it, and I don't think there was anything that was. There's quite a lot of songs on the album, though. Good grief.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Have a look and have a giggle, but they're they're not. I'm not going to win any awards for them.
I'm particularly interested by the title "1 Minute Filth Song."
Oh, that was quite a good one. That was fun. That was basically there's a guy, this crazy guy I know called Rohan, who was an impresario of the Edinburgh Fringe and the London Fringe. Actually, he ran the Canal Cafe Theatre, I think I'm right in saying, in the late 90s, and was in charge of the News Review group. And I think the News Review is still going, actually. That's quite a good training ground, the News Review group, for sort of comic actors. So Rowan was just for a laugh. He went, we're up in Edinburgh. I've got various comedy shows on the boil. Keep the plate spinning. Why don't we, just for a laugh, I've got an hour booked at a late night comedy club. Why don't we see if we can do 60 acts in 60 minutes? Come on, everyone. And he contacted every comedian he knew, and we all came on, and basically there was a buzzer would sound after 60 seconds. You had to fuck off sharpish and then let the next act on. So I wrote a song that was explicitly designed to last 60 seconds and fit in every swear word I could think of in those 60 seconds.
Oh my
which is
god.
Perfect for a late night comedy slot on the Edinburgh Fringe. Not so great when you've got to explain it to your 12-year-old son when he looks you up on Spotify.
Has he done that?
Possibly he has, and I think what you'll find on Spotify is the bleeped, the redacted version.
Oh my god!
But that I managed to get on the radio with that, because a couple of years later, Rohan did a radio version of it. He did 28 acts in 28 minutes. It was an attempt to get into the Guinness Book of Records originally. He was trying to put the most number of acts on in 1 hour that he possibly could.
Yeah.
At Edinburgh, and I'm not sure whether we got into the Guinness Book of Records or not. But it then led to a little radio series, the 4 programs or something, 28 acts in 28 minutes, and my filth song got on the radio. So there was a point where I thought I might have a career in comedy, and I think I just wasn't talented or ambitious enough.
Not really sure what else to say to that, to be honest.
Well, there are traces of it are left strewn all over the internet, and everyone's welcome to go and have a look. But,
don't you worry, I will be having a look. Oh god. But also there was something else I wanted to ask you about, which we briefly discussed in February. So another change topic, slightly more back towards the Payday route, because obviously, I mean, what do you expect? But you have a Twitter account by the name of HoxtonOnDemand, do you not?
I do, and I have neglected it horribly. And I think last time we spoke, I was still guilty of neglecting it horribly, and vowed that I would take it up again, and I haven't done anything.
You haven't?
I've done no such thing.
Maybe I shouldn't have embarrassed you then. I was going to be saying,
no,
have you got any progress with it? Or
No, the thing is, I haven't even checked it for ages, but I really should. And originally, I can't remember quite how it came about. I think someone suggested to me. I think like when the petition was going around, Bring Back Hoxton, there was a lot of people sort of reaching out on social media going, "Oh mate, I love what you've done. I've signed the petition. I hope you get it back," and that kind of thing. And eventually, sometimes people would go, "Will you do my outgoing voicemail, or can you say hi to my mum or whatever?" And I think off the back of that, one of my friends said, "Well, why don't you set up an on-demand kind of thing where people can just tweet in their requests and you just record little things in the voice of Hoxton?" So I did that for a few years actually. And the trouble is, when I'm busy in the booth, it's really hard to put any time aside to look at the Twitter feed and do all the little tiny requests. Because they're only little files, and then you have to edit them and bounce them down and label them and upload them and send them to the right people specifically, and it ends up being quite time consuming, and I think I just hit a really busy patch and just went, oh fuck, I haven't got time to do that anymore, and never picked it up again. And that's really quite naughty, because I have a huge debt of gratitude to people who are fans of Hoxton, because I wouldn't still be doing that game if it weren't for the fans. So I really must get back at doing that. But what was nice recently was that, as you and your listeners are probably aware, there was a Payday Twitter guy sort of said, if you follow these two accounts, one of which was mine, you get some free stuff, some free Payday stuff, some codes. And this was a shock to me. Nobody ran it past me, actually, beforehand. They just sort of announced it. And I looked at Twitter, and it had gone bonkers. And I was, why? And eventually realised that it was because I'd been mentioned in this tweet to sort of several thousand people. And so it was nice, though, because the 10 people won, and I ended up just recording them an individual little message each, and then a generic one to all 10 of them, and stuck it up on Twitter, and it was like the good old days. So it's kind of a nice thing to do, and I think some people. I had a couple of people like propose to their girlfriends using my Hoxton messages.
Oh my God, no, you haven't.
Yeah, a couple. I don't know if they said yes. Maybe there are little babies wandering around now as a result of this.
Oh my God. If there's anyone who happens to be listening who did that, which is very unlikely, but if there is, please leave a comment and tell us, because I would love to know, and I will tell Pete.
I'd love to know.
I mean, you did one for me. I said to you in February, you did one for me, and I asked you, because it was at the time when Hoxton was the only character I played as. I mean, now, as I've said, I've betrayed you for Sydney, and I'm very sorry. But
I see.
Moving on. No, but because I absolutely adore Hoxton as a character. I just think he's fantastic, and I was like, right, I'm going to get him to do a thing to say subscribe to my channel. And I don't know whether it was at that point, because I think at that point you'd taken a while to like do the response. I'm not sure whether I'd actually switched at that point. I kind of feel like I might have switched character, and then you come back and the line I asked you to say was subscribe to Red Arch Live. He plays as me in Payday, so what more could you ask for? And I was like, I can't use that anymore.
Well, I'll do. Okay, we'll have a rethink. I'll do another one. That's fine.
Oh well, I mean, I still have a debt of gratitude to you for the stuff you did for the trailers, for my Avengers and Star Wars trailer.
Oh
edits.
yeah, God, yes.
You did the voice lines for those as well, and that was fantastic. Because I mean, I reached out to you and the others. I didn't expect to get much back off that. I was like, they're probably going to be too busy, but I'll try. And then I think, especially with you, were just like, give me a few days, I'll send it. And I was like, what? Okay, cool.
Oh, well, no, it's fine. Do you know what? I mean, if I didn't have anything else to do, I'd absolutely do everything everyone... Well, within reason. There's some people on Twitter just like say, right, I've got these 4 pages of stuff. Will you voice that for me? And it's stuff, I know, it's some film reference and I don't know the film. And I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. I won't just say absolutely anything.
Yeah.
Not unless there's money involved.
If people send you 4 pages at that point, it becomes like, how much are you asking for this? You know?
Yeah. So the general idea is that it should fit into a tweet.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking about the text should fit into a tweet, not the link to a whole website should fit.
It fits in a tweet. It's a link to an 80-page script. Like, not quite what I meant.
But I really should look at doing that. It would be nice to do that. And actually, if I ever end up doing more Hoxton stuff, maybe I will. Maybe I'll feel inclined to do that. And the trouble is I'm not quite clear what the future holds for Hoxton. I know that Payday 3 was recently confirmed, wasn't it, officially on Twitter?
You're doing my job for me. Payday 3 was the next thing.
I segued beautifully into this.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure whether you knew, but apparently you do. Yes, Payday 3 is a thing. And as per usual with the Payday episodes on this podcast, what I want to do is spend a bit of time just chatting about it. First off, I'm going to follow the same pattern I normally do, because the first question I know always gets very little traction. It's not really a surprise. The first question is there anything you know about Payday 3 that either you could say you know and don't tell us, or anything you can share?
No, and in fact, it's probably safe to say that most of your listeners know more about Payday 3 than I do. In that all I know is it has recently been confirmed on Twitter. So I'm very excited about that. But I'm making the assumption that Hoxton will still be in it, and I can neither confirm nor deny that. I can say categorically that I would like to be involved in it, and I hope that there's still a place for Hoxton, an old dinosaur like Hoxton, in this modern era.
I mean, do you want to know how I see it personally? I really think that out of all the characters to come back, I feel like you're in the safest position purely because if you weren't brought back, there'd probably be another petition.
Maybe, but that was several years ago. Who knows? People might not feel like that anymore. People might go, get rid of the Brit. I don't know. So, I'd love to. I'm hoping there will be something for me to do in that. Payday 3 has been sort of on the cards for several years.
This is the thing, yeah. Like, they first announced it in 2016, very off the cuff. And, like, there's been news about it recently, but it's like, as soon as the Twitter account mentioned it and was like, it's confirmed to be in the works, everyone went nuts about it. And I was sat there thinking, we've known about this for years. Where have you been? Like...
Well, I mean, I think, they sort of announced it and then nothing happened. And I read sort of Steam forums and things about it, and they were basically saying, they're having cash flow problems or something. I don't know. I don't know what's true and what's not. I cannot comment on any of that because I am.
Yeah, they had a
no
really
kind
bad
of inside
time
track.
For a year-ish between the end of 2018 and 2019. They had a pretty rough time, but they're back on their feet, making it up with Payday 3. So
that's great. For the record, I'd love to be involved. Nobody's asked me yet, but they possibly haven't asked any of the voice talent yet. They've just kind of gone, right, we can make this. And maybe contacting people's voiceover agents is quite a long way down the bottom of the food chain, I would think, because they've got a lot of stuff to do before they get the voice actors in, I'm guessing.
Well, go on.
Well, no, I don't know. All that was said to me, this was several years ago, and somebody from Payday kind of said, we've got big plans for you next year. And I was like, great, fantastic, brilliant. and then nothing happened. So I'm hoping that what that was Payday 3, and then Payday 3 went away. So I'm hoping when now Payday 3 is back that I will have some kind of part in it. I would love that.
That would be great. Well, they've actually been properly developing the game now for actually coming on a year. They confirmed they started actually building the game in October last year, so
right.
I don't know how long it'll take them to actually properly develop it. Probably a good couple of years. They've pinned the release date between 2022 and 2023.
Gosh, right, okay, fine.
So there's still a bit of time left on it, and I reckon if they were going to ask you back, like I was saying this to Damien, and Ian, I don't imagine voice actors get told until quite near to the time, unless any mocap work's needed or anything I don't imagine that they need to ask you that soon. It'd be more like one of the last things, I suppose. Once they know you're on board, they've got to ask you first. But I mean, as you've said, I don't really think there'd be much of a problem. They go, "Do you want to come back to Payday?" And you just kind of go, "Well, you see, I'd like to, but."
Well, maybe I've got a clash of schedules, or maybe they're not paying me enough money. Who knows? And now I've completely blotted my copybook by saying categorically on your podcast that I would very much like to be involved in it. Pretty please. I've got absolutely no negotiating power whatsoever now.
Well, I'm pretty sure they're well aware of the podcast, and I hope they'll be listening. So if they didn't know already, they know now. But I mean, I think they're well aware of what a fan favourite you are. I mean, you literally did the Christmas website thing for them in 2019, doing all the
Christmas
the poetry stuff. They keep coming back to you. Like I said, I stand by it. I think you're without trying to get you excited, my personal opinion, I wouldn't say if I didn't think it is, I feel like you're probably in the safest position purely because there would be another petition, I think, if they didn't bring you back. It would just be funny if they go, here's your first 4 characters, you're not there, and it's just like, right, cracks knuckles, you know what to do, boys, petition gets made.
Well, I hope so, but I have learned not to take anything for granted, really, in the voiceover industry, and if they asked me back, I would be delighted. Yeah, it'd be great.
Is there anything then to close off that you'd like to see? Let's say Hoxton does come back, either in the game or just for your character. Is there anything in particular you'd like to see happen in Payday 3?
I'd like to see him front and centre. I'd like to see him right up there. He could have his own series, couldn't he?
He
Hoxton could have his own game.
Oh, ambitious!
Files.
I like it.
Come on. I don't know. I think he's a fun character, and I think the Britishness is part of that, and the sort of sweary kind of pithy remarks. That's another one, isn't he? So he's got legs. He's got legs, Hoxton. I think he could go a long way, and I don't have any ambitions for him to have his own mini series. I just think it would be great if he was still in the game. Payday 3, that'd be brilliant.
Hey, look, if Marvel can do Disney Plus series for their films, then Payday could do. Imagine that Payday gets a contract out to Disney Plus.
That would be fantastic.
Payday, the Hoxton series, the Hoxton stories coming soon to Disney Plus or something like that. Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, and I'm not sure Disney Plus is the right platform for that.
Yeah, I personally, I mean, if they're not going to put Deadpool on there, they're not going to put Payday on there. Like,
no. Crikey, no.
Oh god, that's going to be so funny seeing them try and integrate Deadpool into like their very nice, PG, like age 12 whatever Marvel films. That's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, like Deadpool meets Moana. I don't quite know.
Oh my god, I need to see
how
that
they
crossover.
fit in, really.
Oh my god, it'd be so funny. Like, I mean, they have the occasional swear word in there, but like they don't really push it much beyond that. So it's put Ryan Reynolds in the middle of that. It's going to be like, It's going to be an interesting time.
Do you know what? On the subject of Marvel, I'm just halfway through listening to The Sandman, the Neil Gaiman, again, a plug for Audible. Neil Gaiman has done, he narrates a full cast recording, audio drama of The Sandman, which is a novel that he has written. It reads a lot like, I haven't done my research, it reads a lot like a screenplay, and it wouldn't surprise me if Marvel are toying with the idea of making it into a film. But it belongs to the Marvel universe, and other Marvel characters are mentioned in the book. It's brilliant. I absolutely love it.
Well, Neil Gaiman is just such a fantastic writer. He's brilliant.
He is, and he narrated, I listened to the whole of American Gods, actually, which again was a full cast recording. Did he narrate that? I can't remember. I've listened to, most writers have, shouldn't necessarily be brilliant narrators and voice actors, because I think writing and voice acting are two quite different skills. He's great. He's absolutely great at both. I could listen to him till the cows come home.
Yeah, I might check that out. Like I said, I'm going to try and get more into the audio drama stuff. Like, I think it'd be a really cool thing to do, and then at least I've got a few recommendations from you now. Then.
Yeah, well, I'm not a big reader. I like the idea of reading. I never carve time out for it in my day. And what's great about audiobooks is that you can, stacking the dishwasher or making bread or tidying up or whatever, and you can stick an audiobook on and you're actually you're reading, but without having to hold a papery thing in your hands.
Yeah, I used to read a fair bit when I was a kid, and then I tried to toy the idea of like writing like stories and stuff, and just it switched one out for the other, and now I try and do some writing, but I haven't touched any of my stuff in like a year, so now it's just nothing of either of them.
It's difficult, isn't it? And I've the parable I would draw from my own stand-up comedy career is that if you don't apply yourself to it as though it was the only thing keeping you afloat, you probably won't get anywhere with it. And in terms of writing, I know someone who she gave up the day job. She got up at 7 a.m. and forced 3,000 words out by lunch or whatever. Ooh. She did it, and she's now a very successful novelist, and has had a book in the top 10 and been on Richard and Judy's reading book club and all sorts of stuff. She's had a fantastic, like a meteoric rise in the last sort of 5 or so years, but because she applied herself to it 110%, and I think that I'm pretty sure that's the only way you get to do what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely.
But just financially, that's really hard.
It's really risky. It's like when people like people doing YouTube stuff. Like, people have said to me, "You're going to make YouTube your full-time job." I'm like, mate, I'd have to be in a much better position with this channel to even think about that, let alone to do it. There's this kind of myth that people think that people who do YouTube channels are just minted, and it's like, no, really, really not. Like, I'm not even on minimum wage from the money I make off it. It's just not.
No, that's the trouble. It's like being a rapper or a football hero, isn't it? It is, the 0.001% who actually earn a full-time living off it.
Exactly.
Do quite well, and everyone looks up to them. But realistically, that's 99 point something that just fall by the wayside. And I think if you're making any kind of living out of it, you're doing well, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not like I'm going to end the podcast and be like, right, I'm going to go off and hoover my Lamborghini. Like, it's just not. If only I was in such a position. But no, it's not. It's no, I'm going to go and sit and watch Netflix and have a bag of crisps. That's about as far as it goes. Like.
Well, at least you can afford crisps and a Netflix subscription. That's a plus, isn't it?
Exactly. There you go.
But it's funny. It was interesting listening to my when my son left primary school. They interviewed all the kids in their final year and said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And nearly all the boys said either footballer or YouTuber. And YouTuber just wasn't obviously when I was younger, wasn't any kind of career path at all. YouTube didn't exist, and for someone of my generation, it's a revelation that you can earn not just a living, but quite a decent living and become a celebrity if you're lucky from being on YouTube.
It's fantastic. It is really good.
It's living the dream, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking really that hopefully if it's going to go anywhere, it'll be when Payday 3 comes out. Like, that will be probably make or break. We'll see what happens there. But
yeah, good.
I just want to keep out and see where it goes. I mean, I've been doing it for 6 years now. I can't really pack it in just yet.
No. Oh, it's early doors.
Exactly.
Keep going.
Almost at 20,000, so I'm quite happy about that.
That's terrific.
It is. I'm really happy. Thank you.
Oh, brilliant. Well, I'm sorry I wasn't more interesting or entertaining. Next time I'll be funny. You get loads of listeners.
Oh, no, you have been fantastic. But that does actually bring an end to the topics that I've got. So to close it off, are there any future projects and things that you're able to talk about? Probably not. As you said, the Audible one is very tight-lipped, so...
Yeah, no, I can't tell you anything about that. The thing is about voiceover is quite often it's the bottom of the food chain and it's the last thing to get booked. So I haven't got anything in the pipeline. I've got a couple of bookings I've got a booking in my diary for tomorrow and another one for next week. That's quite a busy diary for a voiceover. Like, quite often you wake up in the morning and don't know what's coming in this afternoon. So as long as the phone keeps ringing, I'm happy. And in the meantime, I don't think I've got anything interesting or exciting I can tell you. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed for Payday 3, and in the meantime, keep auditioning for anything else that comes my way.
Well, I mean, who knows? I mean, this episode will go live just under 2 weeks away. You might by then have like loads more stuff. Who knows?
Who knows? In which case, I'll stick something in the comments. But
yeah, there you go. Yeah, do it. And then share the podcast everywhere so I can get famous. Thanks. Okay.
I certainly will. Please make sure I do that. Please bully me into doing that. Okay. I don't always. Do you know what? I'm quite crap on social media. I don't check Twitter very often.
I know.
Fits and stuff. You know.
I have experience with you, I will admit.
It's fits and starts. Sometimes I check it once or twice a day. Sometimes I don't check it for weeks and weeks and weeks. I've sort of given up on Facebook as well, if I'm honest.
I think a lot of us have.
I'm dabbling with Instagram. I'm still not really sure who wants to see pictures of my homegrown tomatoes on Instagram or how it will get me any more voiceover work. I'm not sure, but that's sort of fun. Other than that, I don't do socials in a big way, really. But I absolutely will if you mention me, or maybe back it up with an email or something. I will absolutely mention the hell out of you on Twitter.
If you want to give me your email, I'll back it. Well, I'll tell you what. Like, let's give some pain because this will upset probably people who are listening. Do you want to know how we're having this interview right now? We're doing it over Skype, not Discord. So
it's because I'm a dinosaur and I don't have Discord. I've never heard of it.
This is what's funny, yeah, because I didn't use Discord for ages, and everyone kept saying to me, "Why are you not using Discord? Oh my god, you're so cringy and whatever." I'm just like, Skype works. What do you mean? And then I got Discord. I was like, oh no, okay, I get it. It's basically just a better version of Skype, and now Microsoft will never sponsor me. I don't think they were ever going to, but now they won't. I've just burnt that bridge.
You have to be careful what you say, yeah.
Discord, call me, please. Oh, no, I don't know. But, yeah. So, apart from that, speaking of which, are there any social pages that you want to share out for people to follow you?
You're very, very welcome to look me up on Twitter. I think I'm PeteGold_ on Twitter, and you could follow me on Instagram. I think I'm Pete Gold Voiceovers, but it is, like I say, it's mostly pictures of my cat and bread that I've made. It's not terribly interesting. That's mostly sort of for my friends and clients probably, but you can have a look if you like.
I'll follow it and give you some really motivational comments like, this is the best post I've seen all day and things like that.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, that'll be great. It's a funny one because Twitter just sort of went mental because I had, I don't know, a couple of hundred followers or something, and then Payday did some campaign, some competition or other, and said, follow Pete Gold to win cash or something. And I looked on Twitter and I had 25,000 followers.
Seriously? Is that how many you've gained from that?
Well, I'm down to about 15 now because, like I say, it's mostly sourdough and cats, and I think all the teenage kind of heisters went, what the fuck, man, this is really boring, and left me in their thousands. But still, 15,000 followers for cats and sourdough isn't bad. So my Twitter account, so it's a kind of a weird one because, like I say, a lot of what I say on Twitter when I can be bothered to post anything at all, it's absolutely nothing to do with Payday. It's very often not even anything to do with voiceover. There's a bit of ranting about Brexit occasionally. So it doesn't really appeal probably to quite a lot of people who follow me. So there's this weird kind of disconnect between what I say and how interested anyone that follows me is in it. on Twitter, and so I wouldn't bother looking me up on Instagram because that really will be dull, and it'll be full of people kind of going, why aren't you posting about Payday? And it'll all go wrong.
Oh, that's what my Twitter's like. Whenever I post about Payday, I get like a good bit of attention. Whenever it's like about anything other, if anything else, if it gets more than like 3 likes, I'm like, well, that's really nice. People are interested in me saying that. That's cool. I'm like, yay! Which, for like having, I don't know, I think I've got like 1,500 followers, like 3 likes should not be an achievement. It should be like, that's, kind of, that's a worrying ratio. But
the bottom of the barrel. No, you're right. I think you take.
To be fair, like a good few hundred of those came from giveaways, so a very similar thing. Like one of the ways, it's one of those websites where it's like you can get different entries by doing different like social media things, and one of them was to follow me on Twitter. So I think a lot of people just follow me and not unfollowed in case I do more giveaways on there, which is fine.
I think that's what the majority of my Twitter followers are. They're sort of, they join me for this and then are hanging around in case I say anything else interesting or give anything away. But yeah, well, but I'm very happy to broadcast this when it's published.
I will greatly appreciate that. And then also your Twitter for Hoxton On Demand, so that I now bully you into going back into it, is just at Hoxton On Demand.
It is. No, do look me up on that, and by all means tweet me there. And I promise at some point I will get back on the horse and start doing that again. And my God, there's going to be a backlog when I do.
12 years later.
Yeah, Jesus.
Oh, I dread to think how many you've got sat waiting for you now. There's probably so many.
I should go and have a look.
Yeah, that'll be. You just open it and see there's like 3,000 and go.
Shut it down.
Tomorrow. Yeah, just not now. No, I'm all right.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna get you to do one now. I'm gonna have to. I might ask you for
do
more
that
with a trailer.
Oh, by all means, yeah. Absolutely, anytime, no problem.
I was going to do another trailer edit thing for the Black Widow trailer, but I was like, oh, I'll wait till it gets close to the release, and then because I'm trying to properly plan it out, because they're hard to make. Some of those, like trying to get the Payday version of the lines to equate can be difficult. People don't realise the kind of work that goes into it. I'm really like being egotistical right now. I'm buffing myself up, and I don't mean it to, but I was like, I'm going to give this some real thought, and then put it out in October when the film releases, and then they're like, Black Widow delayed till April. I'm like, well, I'll take a back seat on that one for a bit, I guess.
All right. That should give you time.
I might message you in March/April time and ask you for help.
Yeah, of course. That would be my pleasure.
Who knows, there will be a Payday 3 by then. I keep saying they need to just make a 10-second thing, like Payday 3 coming in a few years' time or something, because clearly it's like every time like I see someone tweet them, they retweet them all the time, people going, is Payday 3 going to happen? Like, yes, it's confirmed. And there's like every different version of the question under the sun they're constantly answering. I'm like, just like you did that one tweet. And every single like video game news network under the sun picked it up and went, Payday 3 is still happening. And it's like, if you did one trailer, just like one 10-second thing where you like just show off like a working logo or something, you get so much more press, and I do think they need to do it.
Yeah, people like visuals, don't they? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with it. And
well, thank you very much, Pete, honestly.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. And I'm sorry I haven't got more to tell you about Payday 3, but ask me again when there's more news. You'll probably know before I do, and let me know, and let's do this again.
I'll drop you a line. I mean, whether the podcast's still going or not, I'll definitely ask you back on the channel in some way, shape, or form.
Cool.
That's the benefit of doing this once every 2 weeks. I can pad it out for longer and get more people on in between. If I did it like weekly, I'd probably be struggling by now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm happy to come back again, and I'll catch up with you next time.
Thank you very much, Pete. I really, really do appreciate it. And thank you to everyone else for listening to the podcast. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, make sure you're following the podcast on Spotify, just at the Redcast, and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube, like the video, and leave a comment about the podcast, share your thoughts, anything like that. As I said, every time a featured comment will be mentioned in the next episode, so you never know, you might see your name at the start of episode 6. And finally, as I've said at the start of the episode, make sure if you do want 2 days early access to these episodes, head on over to www.patreon.com/RedArcherLive. Being a proper sellout now, Pete, so you'll have to excuse me for a moment. And if you do want access, head over there and just pledge as little as $1 and you'll get 2 days early access. Thank you all very much for listening. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you all with a brand new episode of the Redcast in 2 weeks' time. So thank you again to Pete for being here, and thank you to all of you for listening. See you later, guys.